Anken Ma'at. Welcome to all of you. Welcome. I see that you're coming in. I'm looking forward to see you all come in. Welcome. Can I first say that you can see that I'm not in the shrine today, right? It has been a very, very busy period. I am, as I sometimes say, drinking from a fire hose. There's just so much going on. I'm in the midst of finals at Hunter, where I am a professor, and so I'm doing those things, grading essays and conducting finals for my students at Hunter. But then also, you may know that I am attempting to move forward towards my doctorate in history, and so I decided to do a one-year master's degree in history, in the history of African and African diaspora. And all of my final papers are due tomorrow. So you can imagine that it has been extremely busy. On top of that, Anika Infrakama'at has a prior engagement and is not able to be here. So I decided I would strip things down a little bit and meet with you today, hold our gathering today from my study. This is where I do a lot of my work. And some of you have seen me in this space before. It's at the top level of the home that we're in. So you may recognize that things look different. Please even recognize that even though we are in a slightly different space, we are still convening for Kemetic Ascension. And so you know that when we gather, we always ask where in the world you are and how long you have been part of, how long have you been partaking in, how long have you been a functional part of our gathering, Kemetic Ascension. So please let us know those two bits of information. Where in the world you are and how long you've been part of Kemetic Ascension. I'm seeing that we have a few responses already. Let me say Anken Ma'at to that wonderful couple. I believe they're still in Kemet. The couple that lives in Dodowa, Ghana. The Schaefers are here. Anken Ma'at to you. I hope that all of the things that you should expect from your journeys and from your performances are coming into fruition for you. I also see that one of the members of our Wenwet, one of the priests are here, Anken Ma'at to Abu Jamar. I don't know where in the world he is right now because he is traveling so consistently as he is really bringing conscious hip hop back into the fore. Anken Ma'at to you. I know he lives in Long Island, but I don't know if he's in Long Island. Anken Ma'at, be safe, our dear brother, and continue to do the work that you do. I see Joanne Jahi Adisa, Anken Ma'at to you. You are in Columbus, GA, over there out in Georgia. Anken Ma'at to you. We see Tehudi Ma'at Ra Sirius. Anken Ma'at to you, dear brother. It's good to see you up here doing what you do. Always good to communicate with you, whether it's here on Kemetic Ascension or on Saneta's channel. Anken Ma'at to you. We see one of our full members, Jason Holmes, out in Lincoln, Nebraska, over the Lincoln, Nebraska, right? Did I get that wrong? I'm working on like 2 hours sleep, but let me just go ahead and say, Anken Ma'at to you, said Jason. I'm glad that you are here. We see, is that Sterile World? Anken Ma'at, dear Sterile World. We see another one of our full members, Olivia McGraw. She's listed here as Olivia McGraw, but we know very well that she is one of our full members and a very active member. Anken Ma'at to you. Anken Ma'at to Ra Gregory. I hope I didn't get that wrong. Rastafari in St. Lucia. Anken Ma'at. We see Wusser Heru Ma'at. Anken Ma'at. I'm so glad that you are here. Anken Ma'at. And yes, Dwa for saying I'm still taking the time to be here. I unless I am absolutely unable on a plane, on a train, or somewhere where there is no internet access, you know that I will always be here for Kemetic Ascension. And so Ankh Ma'at to you. We have D. Tolbert in Charleston, South Carolina. Ankh Ma'at to you. Ankh Ma'at. We have Hero Judy Patah, Umika Temra, one of our full members. And yes, Dwa for reminding me that you are Jehuti Ernest, because I know who Ernest is. I know who Sen Ernest is. And I often mess up your name, unfortunately. Ankh Ma'at to you, one of our full members, part of the Shem Suheru. Ankh Ma'at to you, Ankh Ma'at, Ankh Ma'at. We see Curtis Jackson. Sen Curtis Jackson is a full member. Ankh Ma'at to you, Sen Curtis. I hope you are doing well out there in... Are you in Painesville, Ohio now? Or are you in... I know that I remember you being in Pittsburgh. Of course, things are a little different with me running the entire session and seeing all of the chats. Ankh Ma'at, please let us know exactly where you are. And of course, Yehudi Ma'at Ra says 4 years from Wichita, Kansas. Ankh Ma'at to you. Ankh Ma'at, Ankh Ma'at. We have Shane the Watcher 616. Ankh Ma'at. You didn't like Guardians of the Galaxy? I thought it was pretty darn good. I have not seen it in the big theater yet. I have been now you know that I have been busy if I haven't seen a comic book film, a Marvel film in theaters. I saw a little bootleg. And I'm not happy I saw a bootleg. I want to see it on the screen. I thought it was pretty good. Anyway, Ankh Ma'at to my fellow comic book fan there. Marvel fan in particular, since he has 616 in his name. Some of you don't know what that means. It's just between the two of us, just between the two of us. We see Daniel Craig. Oh, you have a house in Dodoragana. Really? Do you know the Schaefers? You should know them. You should definitely know them. Ankh Ma'at. We see, I didn't know that Boot Sashat was in Connecticut. Ankh Ma'at to you, visiting moms in Connecticut. She's out in Connecticut. You know that she's mostly repping the streets of Harlem these days, but she's a Connecticut girl. Ankh Ma'at to you, Aboot. We see Shahid Douglas, Ankh Ma'at. And what is this? ATL. I'm sorry, St. Louis. Not yet in Tempe. What's the not yet? Was there something that... You must be responding to something I've said, but I'll tell you, it's taken me a while to get through this whole list. Ankh Ma'at to you. Abu Jamar is at home. Wow, wonderful. I'm glad you're at home because I know you be on the road, man. Sometimes when we speak to Abu Jamar, he's in the car. In fact, not even sometimes, often, as he does the work. We see a member of the Shrine of Ma'at and an Ankh carrier. We see Dr. Daniel LaRoche, Sen Daniel LaRoche, my good, dear brother. Ankh Ma'at to you. Ankh Ma'at. Star World says that he's been part of Kemetic Ascension for 1 year and he's in Tampa. Wonderful. Tampa must be beautiful right now. I see Jeremy Browder. Ankh Ma'at to you. Where are you, Sen Jeremy? And can I also ask, are you related to Anthony Browder? Are you related to Anthony Browder? Just wondering. We see Sen Tehuti Forever, who is always here. Ankh Ma'at to you. He is the Jati of Bennu. Bennu, as you know, should be the true name of Phoenix. The concept of the Phoenix is a Kemetic one. And our Kemetic ancestors did not call that bird a Phoenix. We called it the Bennu. And so that concept of the Phoenix is a Kemetic one. And so we say Ankh Ma'at to the Jati of Phoenix, who is always here. We see Queen Seba Ka. Ankh Ma'at. Seba Ka, I got a text from you. I had been drinking from a fire hose. I tried to carve out some time to speak to you yesterday. I'm still trying to carve out time for you to speak to you today. I'm going to definitely try to speak to you today. So I've gotten your number. I will text you first and see if you are available. Ankh Ma'at to you, and I know you've had some difficult things, which I won't mention here, but I know that you are doing what you need to do in order to be whole, and anything that we can do to help. I've asked a few of our members of the WINWET to assist you as well. um, we want to be able to do. We're still really getting organized in the sense that there's some things that I should not be doing, right? We have leaders of the Shrine of Ma'at that have roles that should be played as well. So hopefully, this is one of the things that I would want to be involved in, but definitely we're hoping that they'll be able to assist in the interim as well. Society Commentare says, peace, Ankh and Ma'at to you. That sounds like it's in French. Where are you, Societe Commentare? Where are you? I see Tassetti in Denver, Colorado. Ankh and Ma'at, Ankh and Ma'at. No, from Denver, Colorado, but today you're in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. 1 year this month, Ankh and Ma'at to you. Ankh and Ma'at to you. Send Jason Holmes says, I'm in Chicago about your Institute for the Ancient Colors Museum. Wait, huh? Are you in Chicago right now? I really wish that you are you in Chicago now? I'm assuming Senaton is here someplace too. Senaton, I am overdue for a call with you. I definitely need to reach out to you. Listen, in the last 4 days, maybe I've slept 7 hours, 8 hours. So it's been a little rough. I had more sleep last night than I have just because I could no longer write. Anyway, I see Daniel Craig says this is the first time you've seen a live video. Really? Yes, I am certainly live. I'm certainly live at 12:20 p.m. just so you know. We see Gerald Vaughn Sr., Ankh and Ma'at, from the Karast Universal Temple. Ooh, in Columbia, South Carolina. I think I need to know more about that. I was not aware that there was one there. Ankh and Ma'at, please let me know a little bit more about Karast. When I saw that, I assumed that you were out in LA, but I'd love to know more about what's going on in Columbia, South Carolina. Ankh and Ma'at to Sandra Arrington. Ankh and Ma'at, one of our full members. Sanette, how are you? We see Jaman, London. Ooh, Ankh and Ma'at to you. Ankh and Ma'at coming to us from across the waters. That is certainly the furthest place away so far. I see Shane the Watcher advancing so quickly. Did I get past this already? No, it looks like it's the same thing. Ankh and Ma'at. There goes Senaton. Ankh and Ma'at to you, dear brother. Ankh and Ma'at. I know I'm behind in my call to you. I see Sanette Senkaz there, reminding me of her name because my brain is idled today. You better know that. I know that she came into the shrine as her birth name, Olivia McGraw, but she is definitely Sanette Shenka, Ankh and Ma'at. Sanette Tisha, Ankh and Ma'at to you from the ATL, one of our full members, Ankh and Ma'at. Kepra Ka Heru Jehuti Mes, Ankh and Ma'at. You thought it was good and funny. I thought it was too. Let's see. Oh, wow. The two of you are going to the... Now, see, I would say that I wish you had told me so I could be there. But the reality is this weekend and the last weekend and the weekend before that has been so busy, there's no way I could have been there. Please take lots of pictures of the two of you in that museum and post them to our page. When you have two brothers who have studied our history, who are enraptured by our history like I am in the museum, you know that that's going to be fire. So anyway, please let me know how it goes. We see Johnny Parker, Ankh and Ma'at to you, Sen. We see Carl Collins in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Ankh and Ma'at. Ankh and Ma'at. Shahid Douglas as a member of the Reper Ma'at. Okay, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Ankh and Ma'at to you, though. Please tell me more. I know you're trying to tell me something. Texting is not always the best way to do it, right? I really wish that we were able to speak face to face. Ankh and Ma'at to Mark David Vinzens, Ankh and Ma'at. I have no idea who you are, but greetings from and peace from Germany. Ankh and Ma'at to you. That means you're new. Welcome. Ankh and Ma'at to Nubian Master. Ankin Ma'at. And Netter and Tepiamu. Oh, Ankin Ma'at to you. I asked Jeremy that during his interview. Oh, you asked that same question of Wutzashot. Yes, I'm wondering whether he's related to Anthony Browder. That means that you already have the answer. Let's see. I think that's most of who. I see Sin Fry, Ankin Ma'at to you. Michael Andre, Ankin Ma'at, Dwa for saying you love my work. Noble Lloyd Lithcott, Ankin Ma'at to you. Cheryl Lee, repping the DMV, a very active member of the Shrine of Ma'at, full member of the Shrine of Ma'at, Ankin Ma'at, Zwei Yeye. Ooh, in South Africa. Okay, that's the furthest place. Zwei Yeye, you are the furthest person from us in physical space, but connected by the wings of the Neteru and by the internet. Ankin Ma'at to you. We have a senior moment every now and then. Yeah, I'm having quite a few. Donnell Shaw, Ankin Ma'at to you. Ankin Ma'at, Sinette Tone Johnson. Now, I have been moving and moving and moving, but I believe that you have had a loss in your family. I glanced at it today. And so I definitely want to acknowledge that and recognize that a member of the family, someone who is one of our new initiates, has had a loss. We'll talk about that in a moment. And Ankin Ma'at, and Sinette Chenkal, definitely let her know that you're sending her your myrrh. Kimberly Blue, Ankin Ma'at, from the DMV, Ankin Ma'at. And I want to say I see, oh boy, Senjehutimes. Ankin Ma'at to you, dear brother, my little brother, who is my big brother in height. It's good to see that you're on here. I ran into your sister Sydney the other day and didn't even recognize her. She said, "Hey, Jabari." And I said, "Hi," and kind of started walking away. She said, "Oh, you gonna act like you don't know me? It's Sydney." I did not recognize her at all. You all are grown people now. And she reminded me how old you are, Senjehutimes. I'm not going to put you on blast here in public, but let's say you have a milestone coming up. What are you doing for your milestone? Please let me know. I think I might, after this week, things might tone down a little bit for me. I would love to be able to play some role in whatever celebration you're having. And please don't tell me you're not having a celebration, because if you say you're not having a celebration, that is going to be unacceptable. He has a milestone birthday coming up, and it actually also reminds me that I'm pretty old. Because when she told me, I was like, no, that's not true. So anyway, it's good to see that you're there. I don't get to spend as much time with Jehutimes as I used to. And I'm just glad. Oh, he just put it out there. He's gonna be 40. He is about to be 40, y'all. He was a little guy when I met him. I cannot believe that Sen Jehutimes is about to be 40. I thought she must have gotten the dates wrong, even though she's his sister. Anyway, Ankin Ma'at to Sinette Kazi Shep out in Philly, one of our full members. Ankin Ma'at, Ankin Ma'at, Ankin Ma'at. I think I've gotten everyone. And let me just go ahead and say to you that for Sinette Tone, I want to say to you that we are asking the Neteru, we are asking the ancestors to come forward and give you and your family solace on the passing of your uncle. I know that when our relatives, our close family make their transition, this can be a difficult time. We are asking all of the Neteru to surround you, to be above you and below you, to hold your arms and your legs, to ensure that their divine solace is visited upon you and your family. And we also ask the Neteru to ensure that the boat of Ra, the Sektet, moves smoothly through the waters as your uncle makes his transition. Let not a wave crash upon the bow. Allow him to sit in the vaunted place in the center of the boat of Ra. We ask for him to safely make his journey and to communicate when he has reached his glorious destination in the light land. Allow him to communicate to his family, letting them know that he is well, letting them know that there is no pain, letting them know that he has now reached his final stage, the place where we all are beings made of the light of Ra. And we please ask you, Neteru, we ask you, ancestors, to ensure that that family knows that they are not alone, that our dear Sinet Tone knows that she is not alone, because her family at the Shrine of Ma'at is here with her. With that, we say, Tuan Tur, Tuan Tur, Tuan Tur. I see several other people have checked in as well. We see Sen Brandon Moore, one of our full members from Indiana, Ankh and Ma'at. We see Jenicon Mallow, one of our full members down there in Naples, Florida. How are you, dear brother? I hope you and your family are wonderful. We see Kemse Nafariti that says Namaste, Ankh and Ma'at to you. Ra Moses, who says he's a 67-year-old Kemetic scientist specializing in electromagnetic energetic fields, and the staffs of the Neteru were functional receiver conductors. And you can see he puts the bulb, the light, the light, the light, the light, light, and light. Ankh and Ma'at to you, Ankh and Ma'at, and continue your sacred work. I see here's a question that is being said. Oh my goodness, it's her aunt, not her uncle. Sinet Tone, I am sorry. I told you I just glanced at the text, right? I told you I just glanced at the text. I really want us to acknowledge, I just did a prayer for your uncle. Please allow me to accept my apology. We're talking about that ancestor known as Ida Johnson. Ida Johnson is her name. And we're asking, the ancestors know who I was referring to. They know more than I could ever know. And we ask for your aunt to travel safely. We ask for the name Ida Johnson to be held up. We ask for this dear ancestor, this aunt, to have a smooth ride on the boat of Ra. Ankh and Ma'at to you, Ankh and Ma'at to you, Ankh and Ma'at to you. We see Sen Daniel Craig is asking if I know anything about that time the ancient Kemetic people called Zep Tepi. And Zep Tepi means the first time. And so it's a description of the Kemetic concept of the creation of the world. There are a lot of different places where you would hear more about it. Perhaps what I'll do is I will try to do a piece on the creation stories. Yes, there's more than one creation story in ancient Kemet. Why? Because our ancestors in different temple centers had different understandings of the creation of the world, and all of them existed without any contradiction, because they recognized that they were referring to a philosophical exploration of our relationship with all of creation, rather than a historical story that is based in science or history. They were describing the nature of the world rather than telling us exactly how the world was created. Let me say Ankh and Ma'at to Sen Clee Ford, one of our full members. Ankh and Ma'at to you. Ankh and Ma'at to Yemoja Olokun. Ankh and Ma'at to you, Sinet. How are you? It's good to know that you're out there. Ankh and Ma'at to Della Fulton. Greetings from Nightdale, North Carolina. Ankh and Ma'at to you. Ankh and Ma'at to DC Senesi Senesi Neka from Las Vegas. Ankh and Ma'at to you. Ankh and Ma'at. Oh no, that's Nahisi. Ankh and Ma'at. He is one of our new initiates. Ankh and Ma'at to you. It's good to see you, and it was wonderful to see you and your queen the other day. We see Sinet, we see Sen Noble. I think I already greeted you, Sen Noble, and Sinet Tara, one of our full members and one of the functional leaders of the African village here in New York City, and the queen of Abu Waziri, one of the priests of the Shrine of Ma'at. How are you, dear Sanette? It's good to see you there. Why are you still talking? Go do your job. I'm not sure who he's talking to, Donnell Shaw. Anyway, Ankh and Ma'at to you all. Can I say to you that I am so honored that you've decided to be here on this Sunday, that you've decided to spend this glorious day with us. Can I also say this is a good time for you to like the video, to thumb up the video if you're on YouTube, to share the video if you're on YouTube or Facebook. Please let folks know that we are here. Please let us know that let them know that we are here. I'm sure that you all know at least 2 or 3 other people who are actually part of our community and should be here with us. Maybe they're part of our community in the manner in which they view the world. They're part of our community because they recognize the power and the wonderful traditions of our ancient African ancestors. Please go ahead and welcome them. So with that, let us please stand. Doing everything myself today, and do the opening of the way. You know very well that you've probably heard me say many, many times that the opening of the way is the ceremony that was put into its current form by our elder, Baba Heru Ankh Ra Samad Sepata. He is the person that was the founder of the Shrine of Ptah, the keeper of the studio of Ptah, and the elder of the Shrine of Ma'at. The person who has been connected to the Kemetic tradition the longest here in the West. His walk is our walk because of his ability to remain consistent over these 50 plus years. We are now allowed to also be part of the Kemetic tradition. We are able to recognize the importance of the ancient African traditions that come out of the Hapi Nile Valley region. And so we say dua to him, we say dua to him, we say dua to him. I think that we need to go ahead and begin by, as you know, standing in the position of adoration. You're going to stand with your hands exposed in front of you, and you should have your left hand a bit further forward than your right hand, and your right hand a bit further down than your left hand. And your legs, your feet, should mirror this. Make sure that you are just striding ever so slightly forward with your left foot. This is known as a position of adoration. And we know that our ancestors stood on temple walls, stood on papyri in this position. So we know that as they did this for thousands of years, it is of critical importance to them. What you're going to do next is you're going to take a breath from your lower belly, from your diaphragm. Don't breathe from here. That's how you breathe when you're nervous, when you're under stress. Breathe from here, from the root of your being. And then when you chant the word for everlasting life, Ankh, Ankh, what you will do is you will chant it in a nasal manner, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to draw the energy from here and from here upwards out to the universe, from here upwards and out to the universe. And then we're going to move and do the movements of the opening of the way. If you're not familiar with them, just be prepared to learn. If you've not done it before, watch carefully. Go back at our last videos and you will certainly learn. So let us begin. Anachrak in bedhet, nuke in bedhet, anachrak happy, nuke happy, twau enter. Turn to your right. Anachrak serket, nuke serket, anachrak kebsenuf, nuke kebsenuf, Twau inter. Anetrak ast. Nuke ast. Anetrak onset. Nuke onset. Twau inter. Anetrak neat. Nuke neat. Anetrak dwamutef. Nuke dwamutef. Twau inter. Anetrak newt. Nuke newt. Anetrak geb. Nuke geb. Twau inter. Anetrak shoe. 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 Nuke shoe. Anetrak tefnut. 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 Nuke tefnut. Twau inter. Anetrak paut interu. Nuke paut interu. Anetrak imbu interu. Nuke imbu interu. Twau inter. Twau winter. Twau winter. Dwa, 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 dwa. Dwa for doing that with us, family, and I hope you did do it with us. Remember, this is not theater. This is the sacred ritual, the most important ritual of the Shrine of Ma'at. It is the ritual that was brought to us, put into its current configuration by our elder, Baba Heru Ankra Samad Sepata. Ankan Ma'at, Ankan Ma'at. And I see there are several others that are coming on. We see Ali Garrett, who is asking me a question about Asar Imhotep. To be honest with you, I have not been looking at much of his work. And I'm not exactly sure why people believe that they need to contest with the elders, the ancestors, rather than do their own work. But I have not been looking at much of his stuff recently, so I can't really speak to it definitively. Ankan Ma'at to Joycelyn C. I see you're in need of some spiritual healing. Well, hopefully you have come to the right place. Ankan Ma'at to Kent Keys. Ankan Ma'at to you. Ankan Ma'at to Sen Lee. Sen Kofa Kepra Heru, one of our full members. Ankan Ma'at. Ankan Ma'at. Avram Moses says that he's been watching me on Sonnetter. Wonderful. Ankan Ma'at, brother. I would love to for you to tell me more about what you've been doing. Please send me an email at Jed, D-J-E-D, at shrineofma'at.org. Jed at shrineofma'at.org. I believe you should see it in the chat. Ankan Ma'at to you. You did that felt in Ankan Ma'at. I'm not sure what you're saying, Sinet Shenka. Ankan Ma'at to Sinet Michelle Mendez, Sinet Newt. Ankan Ma'at, one of our full members out of Boston. Ankan Ma'at to you. We're supposed to be coming to Boston soon. I'm sure that you have been working with our dear brother Yasir Rahotep on that, so I'm sure that you're familiar with it. Ankan Ma'at to Rich Duglin, one of our full members. Ankan Ma'at to Chris MVP Harris, my good brother, my good scholarly brother, a hell of a debater. It's good to see that you're there, good brother. I'm glad that you're there. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Ankan Ma'at to Rhonda Brown. Ankan Ma'at to you. let's see. Are you aware of any similarities between voodoo spirituality and yes, there are many, 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 many similarities. Far too many for me to mention here, but definitely it's something that is very clear. African spirituality has a real central focus and foundation, and you should actually recognize African spirituality, regardless of whether you're looking at the spiritual forms of Southeastern Africa, Southern Africa, Western Africa, Central Africa. North Africa can be a little different because it is so heavily Muslim, but definitely when you look at the fundamental indigenous traditions, you will see many, many similarities. So with that, what I'd like to do is go into hesi. You know that we do hesi here. You know that we actually galvanize the powers of the Netzeru and the ancestors in chanting and in song, just as our ancestors did so many thousands of years ago. So today I'd like to do something a little different. I want to show you a video, and I want you to recognize that it's pretty old, so the quality of it is a little compromised, but I still believe it is so important and so amazing that I am choosing to show it here. I want you to see, as you look here, as you look at this, you're going to see our elder, Baba Heru Ankh Ra Samad Sepata, performing with the Kemet Rising Ensemble. I believe this is in Prospect Park in the early 1980s. This is wonderful. And I want you to take a look at that. As we do hesi today, please understand and recognize that the Kemetic community has been doing hesi for a long time. And here you see our elder doing this. Wow, it's got to be 40 years ago now. Take a look. Come on, share. There we go. I really hope that you enjoyed that as much as I did. I mean, I really, really enjoyed that. This was before I was part of the tradition. This is before I was part of the tradition. This is in the early to mid 80s. And so it is absolutely amazing to see them doing their work. Sinette Joanne says Baba Heru is fine, respectively. Respectfully. Yeah, that's the Baba Heru that I met. That's how he looked when I met him so many years ago. And it was really amazing that that I was able to take a look at this. I was sitting in the studio with him at one point, and he had an old VHS tape. There are others, and I'm still waiting for him to give me access to. And he said, "Oh, I don't want to part with this. I don't know what to do with it. I can't watch it anymore. But I'm afraid to give it to anyone because I may never get it back. I'm also afraid that I'll never be able to see it." And so I said, Baba, you need to trust me. I will digitize it. And so that is how I got access to it. Some of you may have seen that the longer video and at least 2 others are actually on our YouTube channel for the Shrine of Ma'at. So you'll note that after digitizing it, Baba Heru gave me permission to post it on the internet. And so you are seeing this wonderful experience occur 4 decades ago via the internet. Just think about that. This was an old yellowing VHS tape. It's one of the reasons why the audio was not perfect. It's challenged, but I still think that it is really a beautiful historic archival recording of the Kemetic tradition 40 years ago. It is really beautiful, and I love watching it. I love seeing it. I'm hoping that there are many more out there that will be able to digitize and share with the entire community. It should be something that we're all aware of. This is not a new thing, right? This is not a new thing. They had already been part of the Kemetic tradition for quite some time. All of these individuals that you're seeing. The sister on the right who was singing in the beginning was a masterful storyteller who told the stories of the traditions of the mythical traditions of ancient Kemet to us while we were in initiation, and she is now an ancestor. There are several individuals who are on that screen that are no longer with us in physical form. And so this is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. You know that at this point in our gathering, I like to go into what we call the opening, the word from the Sebayit. The word from the Sebayit. And today what I'd like to do is I'd like to actually talk about one of the most important, one of the most recognized bodies of literature in the world, the Sebayit, but also do that by talking about one of the works of this body that is almost completely unrecognized, and that is the text known as the Instruction of Ani, the Instruction of Ani. I'm hoping that you will get a lot out of this. You will benefit from it. I want you to recognize the importance of reading the sacred text of ancient Kemet. And I want you to also recognize that those sacred texts which were written for the edification of the people thousands of years ago were sacred texts that were so much in divine order that many of the teachings are actually teachings that are plainly applicable to our modern day, plainly applicable. And so this is definitely something that I'm hoping that you will benefit from. So with that, today's word from the Sebayit comes from the Instructions of Ani. First of all, you should know that this text is generally on what is known as the Papyrus Bolak 4. The Papyrus Bolak 4, which is in the British Museum, I believe. And Ani is supposed to be, we believe, a scribe in the palace of Queen Nefertari. A scribe in the palace of Queen Nefertari. And you may note that Queen Nefertari was the great wife of Ramesses the Great. You're seeing an image here from her tomb. And in this image, she is playing that game known as Senet. It is a precursor to chess. It seems that she enjoyed playing the game. And you should also know that it is, historians often look at this image and say, well, she's playing it by herself. It's usually at least a two-person game. Playing it by herself may be a metaphor for her making her journey to the afterlife. By the way, as this game is connected to the afterlife, you should also know that Senet means to pass. To pass. Now, I know that you hear us say Senet meaning sister, but it is just a word that sounds similar. We're talking about two different words. The game itself is known, it can be translated as to pass. And there are some that argue that this might be one of the reasons why we use the term to pass for someone who has made their transition to the afterlife. This idiom may have come from ancient Kemet thousands and thousands of years ago as it influenced the rest of the world. Take a look at this beautiful image of this queen sitting on her divine, her royal chair with a second, a staff of power, playing this game. Here's one of the teachings on the instructions of Annie. I love this old photo. It's a little disturbing. The guy on it looks a little strange. But look at this old Budweiser photo when they decided to attempt to represent people of African descent, African Americans as well. It's a strange looking photo. I know he's supposed to look like he's enjoying that Budweiser, but he actually looks a little creepy to me. And of course, the tagline is, "Where there's life, there's a bud." Hey, strange, a little strange to me. But here is the instruction from Annie talking about the problem of overindulging in alcohol. Now, let's be clear about overindulging, because it is not actually the drinking of alcohol is not something that's prohibited in the Kemetic tradition. In fact, you should know that beer itself, what the ancestors called henket, is something from ancient Kemet. So let us listen to Annie. He says, "Do not indulge in drinking beer, lest you utter evil speech and don't know what you're saying. If you fall and hurt your body, no one holds out a hand to you. Your companions in the drinking stand up saying, 'Out with the drunk!' If one comes to seek you and talk to you, one finds you lying on the ground as if you were a little child." Can you imagine that this text is admonishing one not to overindulge, not to go too far when drinking? I think this is very interesting. And while it says not to indulge in drinking beer, notice that the commentary is about overindulgence, right? Because your companions are drinking too. You've just gone too far. So I think that that's quite funny. In the instructions of Annie, they're saying, hey, keep it easy and don't get overly ossified, as we used to say. The instructions of Annie also tell us to temper our words, to be cautious with the things that we say to people. Let's listen to Annie. He says, "Do not reveal your heart to a stranger. He might use your words against you. The noxious speech that came from your mouth, he repeats it, and you make enemies. A man may be ruined by his tongue. Beware, and you will do well." Be cautious in the things that you say in public. He says, to a stranger. Now, think about the world that Annie was in at the time. Of course, there would have been opportunities to speak to people that one did not know. Kemet was an extremely populated place for the ancient world. In many of its cities, there were many, many people who lived in those cities during the ancient world. But I also want you to recognize that when we hear this admonition against speaking something that we are unsure of to a stranger, this becomes ever so more challenging in the modern world. Just think, I am speaking to you via the internet. There are many, many more people who are able to hear my words, who are able to judge the fitness of my concepts, of my thinking. Be careful about the things that you say to a stranger. Do not reveal your heart, because the stranger may use your words against you, and your noxious speech that comes from your mouth can be used against you. They can actually repeat it, and then you may be ruined by your own tongue. This is important. This is important. I see a few more people have come in very quickly. Ankan Ma'at to Sen Gaston Bryant. Sen Gaston, I thought you would be one of our initiates. What's going on? Come on now, let's talk. I also see Sanet Sakina Ra. Ankan Ma'at to you. Ankan Ma'at to you, dear full member of the Shrine of Ma'at, my sister out in, I want to say North Dakota. I think North Dakota. These places of the country that I have not been to become a little difficult for me to remember. So I'm quite sure that's where you are, though. Ankan Ma'at to you, dear sister. And another full member, Lady Het Davis. Ankan Ma'at to you, Sanet. It's wonderful to see you. Ankan Ma'at Zo Sarabo. I believe we saw you as well before. Ankan Ma'at to you. I see D. Tolbert is asking how to become a member. We are actually have just recently closed our process of mission of initiation to the Shrine of Ma'at. Our first initiatory session is this Tuesday. That is how close you are. Our first initiatory session is this Tuesday. It started a little bit late this year based on my crazy schedule, but it is starting this Tuesday. And I'm seeing Sanet Cheryl is saying that Proverbs looks a lot similar to this. You better understand that that biblical text was all up in the Kemetic text. This is quite unfortunate, but real, that's what happened. Absolutely. And it also says, watch your words and careful what you say. You proceed. You'll be surprised how few troubles you have. Yeah, sound familiar, right? This is just much older than the biblical text, much older than the Torah, and yet we see this wisdom come forward in the Abrahamic tradition, while those of the Abrahamic tradition, many of them speak ill of the Kemetic tradition. Ankan Ma'at to you, Paul Monch. It's good to see that you're back again. Okay, let's continue. Look at this one. The instructions of any are telling us to be careful about throwing shade and getting involved in gossip. Listen to what any says here. Do not enter the house of anyone until he admits you and greets you. Do not snoop around in his house. Let your eye observe in silence. Do not speak of him to another outside who was not with you. A great deadly crime. Don't be getting into somebody's house, especially if you were uninvited. And when you get in there, don't go around and look at stuff and then share information, spilling the tea on people. Please be careful with this. That is what we are being told. And he seems like he was just writing this yesterday. Like he was writing it yesterday. By the way, I see Sentehudi Forever saying that Zoe is with Grassroots, and she helped put together a screening of Wakanda Forever. Welcome. That might be Zoe, by the way. Welcome. I'm glad that you're here with us. That means you're probably out there in Benue, in Phoenix. I really hope that this is something that you're able to continue to assist us with as Phoenix continues to grow and become a really important part of the Kemetic community. Let's continue. And then I believe this is the final one. I just chose a few of these for us to talk about. Take a look at this. This is on honoring our mothers. Honoring our mothers. Listen to what Annie says about the importance of our mothers. He says, double the food your mother gave you. Support her as she supported you. She had a heavy load in you, but she did not abandon you. When you were born after your months, she was not yet yoked to you. Her breast in your mouth for 3 years. By the way, this tells us that in ancient Kemet, most women breastfed for about 3 years. As you grew and your excrement disgusted, she was not disgusted, saying, "What shall I do?" When she sent you to school and you were taught to write, she kept watch over you daily with bread and beer in her house. It is reminding us that we should take care of our mothers, and by extension, our fathers, those people who have cared for us, those people who have reared us, those people who showed love to us. And some of the concepts in here are so funny. When we say double the food for your mother, clearly they're talking about as you are older, make sure that you are taking care of those people who cared for you, that mother especially that cared for you, because she had such a heavy load, but she did not abandon you. And I love how it says, when you were born, she was not yet yoked to you. In other words, she could have said, this baby is out, I'm out, peace. She didn't know you. She could have just left you somewhere. But instead, what she did is she actually gave you sustenance for 3 years from her own body. Sustenance from her own person. And as you began to poop, we know that first set of poops is like, oh, look at it's a poop. But after a few days to weeks, I'm telling you, it's not cute anymore, right? And it says, as you grew and your excrement disgusted, she was not disgusted, saying, what shall I do? She still took care of you, cleaned you. And then she sent you to school. Now think about this. We're talking about all those things that mothers, that parents do for their children. This could easily be something that was written yesterday. Think about the role of mothers through ancient history. Look at these beautiful Black queens on the side here, all around the image of Ast with Heru. We know very well that mothers have been the mainstay of every community in existence. And Eni is reminding us that our mothers supported us, carried that heavy load, that after giving birth, then sustained us, and then cleaned us, and also sent us to school while they fed us. This is powerful. I love this piece. I love this piece. It should absolutely be a prayer. It should be a song. We should draw from the instructions of Eni and do good work with this. This is beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful. And Shane the Watcher says, doesn't Amenemhotep chapter 9 talk about speaking ill as well? They sure cared a lot about what was said. Yes, Amenemhotep speaks a lot about being careful with your words. Absolutely. And in fact, even as we look into the 42 laws of Ma'at, we see admonitions on speaking ill. So yes, the words that you speak are definitely important. I also see the a few other folks have come in. I see Sinette Della Fulton is here. Ankan Ma'at to you. I also see that Tehuti Ma'at Ra Sirius is still doing his work as a mod here. Dwa, dwa, dwa. Please hit the thumbs up, family. Dwa. Yes, please thumb it up, because when you thumb it up on YouTube, it makes it easier to find. And so this is very important. Shahid Douglas says, and Tepi, what do you think about someone who made the statement that he has debunked the 42 laws of Ma'at? I would say that they should go back to the first instruction of Eni and not overindulge in alcohol or beer. I don't know how someone could debunk the laws of the oldest tradition, certainly the oldest written tradition in the world. But I would love for them to reconsider saying things in public that don't make sense, just as Eni has told us to do. So certainly we know that there are people who say things like that. They are tethered to the Abrahamic traditions, and they feel quite awkward that there is an older African tradition that they would like for us not to be aware of, not to focus on. They are doing the work of their enslavers without even having chains on their feet or chains on their hands, and that's unfortunate. So I want you to remember the importance. Oh, there's one more. Is it just one? I think it is just one. Here's the one on assisting our elders from the instruction of any. And it says, do not sit down when there's a person standing who is older than you or whose rank is higher than yours. And I'm showing you this image of this crowded subway train. I could have taken this picture last week. I mean, New York City is back, boy. I'm telling you, I was on a train that was so crowded, feeling uncomfortable because of me sharing the air of everyone else that was on the train. I think that could have been how I got COVID the first time, when I had the OG COVID, the COVID that made me so sick. I'm just saying to you that we need to take care of those people who are the elders around us. And definitely this is part of what is being said here. Definitely. And Shahid Douglas, I know you said it's on YouTube. I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was. Many people say ridiculous things. And you can share the link with me when I have a moment, and I haven't had one in a little while. But when I have a moment, I'll definitely look at it and see the ridiculousness. I think I at least saw one video from someone in the Hebrew Israelite community that was saying something that ridiculous about debunking the 42. I think I did. It may be the video that I saw as well. And if you saw it and I saw it, then maybe I need to say something. Sometimes I just ignore some of those things because nobody's looking at it. Nobody's watching it. Why would I give it any shine or spotlight? But when more people are looking at it, then sometimes I feel that I need to respond. I see Shane the Watcher also saying, I do take some issue here. The child didn't ask to be here and might reinforce the toxic dynamic between parent and child in the Black community. A mother should be a mother because they should. I don't think that last one is taking issue with the things that you're saying. I think they're saying, children, remember that mother that took care of you. Of course, if they're parents who don't take their care of their children, that's not who Annie's referring to, right? Right? So I don't think that the issue that you're taking is one that Annie would disagree with. I think they're simply saying, remember those things that were given to you. Remember the assistance that was given to you when you needed all the assistance in the world. And please ensure that we are taking care of our mothers, particularly as they age as well. I know my mother just turned 81 last week. She is still missing my father greatly as I am. Next week will be the 3rd anniversary of his passing, and it still feels sometimes like it was yesterday that he made his transition. So I need to take care of her as well. Send Shahid Douglas. Please don't send it to Anika, because Anika is busy too and doesn't know what we're talking about. Send it to my email, Jed, DJED, at shrineofma'at.org. That's where I'd love for you to send that link. So that might be helpful. Okay. Shane says, as a child should, I don't think it's a given because not everybody is a good parent. Yeah, I agree with you, but he's talking about good parents, right? He's talking about good parents, the parent that took care of you, the parent that nursed you and gave you sustenance, the parent that sent you to school. That's what he's referring to. So I agree with what you're saying. He's saying so many parents do the best that they can with their children. The overwhelming majority of parents do that. The overwhelming majority of parents do that. And so he's talking about good parents, he didn't say take care of the person that left you on the street while they went to the club. That's not what he's saying. But most parents don't do that. We also have to remember that parents are human too. And they are also deserving of our forgiveness. They are also deserving of us attempting to restore Ma'at with them as well. And I see Hits the Great says that they lost their mom to sickle cell 7 years ago. Still feels like yesterday. I can imagine that. I'm so sorry that your mother is now an ancestor. Know that she is still with you. And if you open up the aperture of your spiritual self, you will still be able to sense and commune with her. I see Kimberly Blue says that needs to be fleshed out. In addition, that needs to be fleshed out definition of parents, mother, and father. Yeah, I think that it is fleshed out. If you look at it, let's see if I can go back. If you look at it, it's actually telling us precisely what a good parent is, right? The person that supports you, the person that cleans you, the person that nurtures you, the person that makes sure that you are taught the things you need to be taught in order to be the individual that you must become. I think they're giving you a definition, even in the description of you having a responsibility to this mother. They're telling you why you have responsibility to her. So I think that this is a fleshed out definition of parents. But you're going to see in the Kemetic text many, many descriptions of the importance of parenthood. And Sin Fry says, where can you find this book? It is a smaller book, but you'll also note that you can read a copy in English in what I usually call, what historians usually call AEL, Ancient Egyptian Literature, which has been edited by Miriam Laketum. That's one place you're going to find it. There's several other that I don't seem to have right in front of me, but there's several other translations that are pretty good as well that you can read. But look for AEL. It usually comes in 3 volumes, Ancient Egyptian Literature, translated by Miriam Lichten, and you'll see that as well. Okay. Here's another one. I think is this the last one? Am I forgetting all that? No, I guess I got a few more. What am I doing? I thought it was just a few. I put a lot in here. I told you I was tired. Take a look. Look at this one. This is on honoring our ancestors. It says, pour out the water of libation for your father and mother who rest in the valley of death. The Neteru will bear witness to this just act. This means that you have a responsibility for those individuals who have made their transition. And you may have heard me say this, that which you feed is that which you live. Well, that which you feed is that which lives. That which you feed is that which lives. So those ancestors, those parents who have made their transition, pour out water for them, speak to them. Their ancestral presence is still with us. This is an important concept. You'll even see in the Kemetic tradition, we have the idea that those individuals who are ancestors can still interact with us in the physical plane. Take a look at this image. I have asked this in Kemetic Ascension before. Does anyone know what this image is from? The one on the screen. What is it from? We can see that there's a large statue there. What is this? Who can tell us what this is? I'm hoping that you're able to, because it is key in our understanding of the role of the ancestors. It is key in our understanding of the role of our ancestors. Now, I know there's a little bit of a delay. I'd love to know who's answering. What is this? There's a lot about responsibility to fathers, Sen Shane, that just not in this particular text. So we could actually do that. In fact, I think as Father's Day approaches, I think we'll talk about fathers as well. Definitely. Abu Tashat says she wants to answer this so badly. Come on now, what is the image from? I'm gonna wait 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You should know. I'm seeing some decent answers, not all correct, but close. Hits the Great says it's a false door, but that is the wrong name. The historians, they do call this the false door. And I think that that's a poor name, but you are referencing the right device. This door they called false because you or I cannot go through it. But it is not a door for us. This is a spirit door. Yes, Sengaston. This is a spirit door. And notice that the statue of the person here is not going in, they're coming out with their left foot forward. This person is, as Zanette Sandra Arrington says, the spirit door of Maruk is Meraruka. She's very close. Meraruka. Meraruka. There we go. I think that's a good translation, a good spelling. It's the spirit door of Meraruka, and he was one of the nobles under Pepi II, a powerful noble. And so this is his spirit door. And you'll note that this thing here, I don't know if you can see my mouse, that is broken here is the symbol for Hetep, or blessing. And so this is the place where you would have put offerings to the divine soul of Meraruka. Notice that his hand, look at his right hand pointing downward. This is where he is receiving the divine sustenance from your offering. And giving him this divine sustenance allows him to continue to live. This is powerful. This is where we see the great cosmogony and philosophy of our ancient Kemetic ancestors. Sen Shane says, don't we have spirit doors here in North America? We do have Kemetic spirit doors in museums. There are many in museums around the country. If you go, now, of course, I'm going to talk to you mostly about the ones on the East Coast, but you'll see that there are some wonderful ones in Chicago at the Oriental Institute, also the Boston Museum of Fine Arts, the Brooklyn Museum. The best of them are in the Metropolitan Museum here in New York. You'll also see spirit doors in the Carlos Museum in Atlanta. These are all museums that I do tours of. I think those are the ones that you'll see the best of the spirit doors in. And of course, they will all be listed as false doors. Several of you mentioned it was a spirit door. Good, 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 good. Wonderful, wonderful. This is why they use, this is the foundational teachings of the Masons, correct? Certainly the Masons believe that they were the caretakers of the ancient wisdom of ancient Kemet. And so that's a main challenge that we need to recognize. And you're seeing another spirit door here. This is the spirit door that belongs to who? Now, I know you're not going to get this. I know very well you ain't going to get this. Because unless you have been traveling with Jabari Osaze and Anika Osaze to Kemet, we're the only ones of all of the people in our community that go to this space. The only one, you hear what I'm saying? The only ones. The only ones. This space is empty. We have never seen anyone go into this projet. The projet, by the way, is the Kemetic term for mastaba, the early burial form for in ancient Kemet that even comes to us from the Old Kingdom. They name them mastabas from an Arabic word meaning bench, but we call them the Perjet, the house of eternity. But whose Perjet is this? Do you also notice here, if you look closely, you're seeing the Hetep symbol here, the Hotep symbol here, the offering, the blessing symbol here? So you should know that this is his spirit door. Whose is it? Is there anyone that would recognize it here? I see Senchain say that Native Americans built them into rock formations. I don't know. I'm not aware of that. I would love for you to send me some information about that if you're familiar with that, Senchain. I'm not aware of it. I'm not aware of it. Was this Djoser's tomb, Tasseti? That's a really good question, because it is walking distance from Djoser's tomb. That's a really good question, and it should be an alley-oop for somebody else. Come on now. I'm going to give you 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sen Gaston says, the Netcher Amen. Nice guess. This is the spirit door for Ptah Hotep. Ptah Hotep. This is in the tomb Ptah Hotep. Yes, that Ptah Hotep that writes the world's oldest complete book. And look, Sen Rich is saying he's getting brain fog. You know that you've been in sessions with me doing it, dear brother. Right? Sen Rich is one of our full members out there in Queens, not far from us. By the way, please say Ankh and Ma'at to your wife as well. Just to give her our myrrh as well. But so this is for Ptahotep. You might have noticed that in the beginning of this, there was an image of Ptahotep on the screen. This is the one beginning given to the man who was written, who wrote the world's oldest complete book, 37 maxims on how to live a divinely balanced, a ma'atical life. Let's continue. On being truthful. This is Eni talking about being truthful. He says, be careful to avoid the mistakes of lying. It will prevent you from fighting the evil inside yourself. Wow. You will not be able to see yourself clearly if you continue to lie. Think about this. You know how many people have had these false stories they've told and they've gone out of control. They've gotten themselves into lots of trouble. I think of the NBC News anchor, Brian Williams, who started off telling a little bit of a ditty, a little bit of a mistruth about him being somewhere and in Iraq and they were shooting around him, and then all of a sudden it went further and further. Then it wasn't just shooting, now it was over his head. Then it went further. Now he jumped in a helicopter and the helicopter took fire. I mean, we all realized later that all of that was a tall tale. And I honestly think that after a while telling the story, he began to believe the story. Be careful to avoid the mistake of lying. It will prevent you from fighting the evil inside yourself. Powerful, powerful, powerful. Sen Daniel says, it has been said that Europeans took ancient Egyptian knowledge and was used to dominate the world, create technologies like cell phones. Do you know anything about that? I would certainly say that the concepts of ancient Kemet have been utilized, not even in their full understanding or in their truest sense, to empower those who control the world today. Sure. Cell phones, that would be a little bit of a stretch, but I bet you I can make that stretch. It's not one that I'll do now because it would take some time, but just know that even Kemetic mathematics is something that enriched the world before there were other mathematicians in most other places of the world. The Kemetic concept of the movements of the sun are what give us our understanding of the hours of the day and the days of the year. These are very simple ways that the traditions of ancient Kemet allow us to exist in the world in the form and fashion we do today. Take a look at this one. This is Eni talking about the importance of caring for those who are in need. He says, do not eat bread without giving some to those near you who do not have anything to eat, since the bread is eternal, while man does not last. This is powerful. Think about how many people are in great need, and many, as a nation, particularly in the United States, are doing very little to help. In fact, I know there's an argument over the debt ceiling right now, and that argument is, on one side, the Republicans are saying, well, you have to give people who need less. You have to force people who are hungry to work. The overwhelming majority of people who are hungry are people who either cannot work or are taking care of small children. They're saying they don't care. But this is the world that we're in. This is the world that we're in. And so this is so important for us to give to those around us who are in need. Sinette Kimberly says, as an African-American, how can we exist without lying in the society that has built on lies to subjugate us back into slavery or servitude or indignity? I think it's hard. Most of us are uncomfortable telling the whole truth of our lives. But I think that Eni is reminding us that when we do that, there is damage that we incur. I think that's what he's reminding us. And so I think it's something that we need to be aware of and give some thought to. Ptahotep was supposed to be like 80. Ptahotep says that when he wrote the book, he was around 110 years old. And he talks about how uncomfortable he is with living. He says he can't see anymore. He could barely hear. Breathing is hard. Standing is almost impossible. So, yeah, he was supposed to be very old when he wrote the instructions of Ptahotep. Look at this one. This is Eni telling us about the importance of spiritual development. This particular passage says, Do not lose yourself in the exterior world to the extent that you neglect the place of your eternal rest. He's saying we must do the spiritual work, that we must continue to take care of those intangible things of the spirit, and not to get caught up in attempting to acquire things all the time. That we need to ensure that we are taking care of our divine selves. This is important. This is very important. How about Annie telling us about to be careful on with the use of our emotions? And it's important for us to control our emotions. This is what he says. Everyone can master their own nature if the wisdom which he has been taught has made that nature stable. He is saying what you should be able to do. We all have emotions, is what he's really saying. We all have emotions, but that what we must do is use wisdom to allow us to be stable in our emotions. This is powerful. This is powerful. And I love this dearly. I think that this is beautiful. This is beautiful. And then I believe this is the last one. And this is on the importance of hard work and planning. It says, a lazy man never gets around doing anything. He who knows how to make plans is worthy of consideration. And you might wonder why I have this image here. For those of you who will follow me carefully, you know that this particular ancestor is one that I speak about all the time. Who is this ancestor? And why am I connecting this ancestor to the concept of making plans? Who is this ancestor? I know you've all seen this image of the African with the horrible welts on his back, an African who was enslaved. Shane the Watcher says, that's in my book, right? Yes, it is in my book. Ooh, Sandra Arrington. Sanette Sandra says Gordon. Tuti Ma'at Ra Syria says Gordon. Y'all been paying attention. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is the African ancestor, that indubitable fighter known as Gordon. And yes, Will Smith did make a movie there was a movie called Emancipation about him. I've been talking about him long before Will Smith was in a movie, but I'm so pleased. It's unfortunate that Will Smith did something kind of crazy in a moment of passion. And it's unfortunate that now most people have not seen the image. But the thing that I think that's so interesting is most of us have seen this image. This is the image that for many of us is a painful recognition of the brutality of our enslavement. But most of us don't know that we know who this person is. Most of us are not aware that we know his story. Most of us don't know that we should not simply be focused on the welts on his back. In fact, these welts demonstrate his victory over his enslavers. Look at what they did to him. But you might ask, where was this picture taken? Why was it taken? Well, Gordon was one of those Africans that if you took your eyes off him as an enslaver, as an overseer, Gordon was going to flee. Gordon was one of those rebellious Africans who continued to try to escape enslavement. And he had been painfully punished for it. Look at the heavy keloid scars on his back. But what I want you to know is that this picture was taken because one day he decided he was going to run again. And he had an idea of where the Union soldiers, this is during the Civil War, where the Union soldiers were stationed. They were about 40 miles away. And so what did he do? This is where we talk about making plans. Gordon slowly stole onions. Now you can imagine, you can't steal a lot of onions because someone's going to recognize that they're gone. But he slowly started stealing onions. Family, why was he stealing onions slowly? What was he doing? What was he doing? He slowly started collecting onions and hiding them. And eventually he recognized that he had enough to hatch his plan. One night, he took those onions and he began to rub them on his body. And he began his journey of 40 miles. I want you to know that because Gordon was that African that escapes, that African who fought against enslavement, you know they was watching him, right? You know that they expected him to flee. And yes, Sen, I see a bunch of you answering it now. I see a bunch of you. Sen Tehudi Ma'at Ra Sirius is saying, throw off the scent from dogs. Sen Rich is saying it. Live Sounds 11 is saying it. That's exactly what he did. He started rubbing those onions on him and he started fleeing. And over the course of 10 days, traveling mostly at night and hiding during the day, he continued to flee from these brutal enslavement catchers and their dogs. He travels 40 miles to the Union line over the course of 10 days. And when he gets there and they're able to see the brutality, the things that happened to him, that is when this picture was taken. It was actually printed in what's it called? The Harper's Weekly. Harper's Weekly. It's a very famous picture. But I want you to know that photography was relatively new and expensive, but even more expensive was to do these etchings. Take a look. Here's another picture of him, by the way. Same person. This is right after he had escaped. Notice that he escaped barefoot. Look at his clothes. By the way, with all of the things that happened to him, look at his face. Does he not have dignity? Does he not have a little bit of a smile? Because he knows that his plan was hatched and it hatched well. That's what we know that Gordon did. And then there's this image. This is the one that would have been quite expensive to do in those days. An etching of Gordon. And what is Gordon doing here? After being tortured and brutalized by these European enslavers, and finally escaping successfully, he does not say, you know what? That was hard. That was difficult. I deserve to be free, and I'm going to go somewhere and sit down and enjoy my freedom. That's not what he does. He says, give me a uniform and a gun. And he joins the Union Army, eventually leading the army back to the very region, the very plantation that he was enslaved on. During this journey, this fight as a soldier, it is said that he was captured, recaptured, and then escaped again. And when he leads the army to that place, to that plantation, he is able to free those enslaved Africans that were around him. This is about making plans. This is about recognizing that these plans, even though they may have been drawn during a time of duress, a time of difficulty, make your plan and work your plan and you will be successful. That is what Eni is telling us. And it's almost like Eni must have spoken these words directly into the ear, directly into the heart of this glorious ancestor known as Gordon. So I want us to recognize that this is an important concept and that our people have always done this. And it's because we have done this that we have been successful. Make your plan, plan your work, and work the plan. So With that, I want to say that the divine force in me greets the divine force in you. Dua for joining us for Kemetic Ascension. I would normally say, Anika, please come forward for our final affirmation. But as I am here without Anika today, here it is. I'm giving you your final affirmation. Can I say, Amasu and Panter, Sauksumit Ra and Panter, Autu Aura Maketi Paherura. Give yourself for the one most high. Keep yourself for the divine, and do it tomorrow just as you did it today. Twa Winter. Family, dua so much for being part of Kemetic Ascension. For those of you who are new initiates, I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. For those of you who are full members, why don't you pop in and say hello? Just pop in and say hi to folks so that they're able to know that the family of the Shrine of Ma'at is here to see the new members, the new full members of the Shrine of Ma'at. We are going to be using the same room that we always use, so you should already have the link. We're so honored that you are members of the Shrine, and we'll tell you more about what their process looks like as it goes forward. With that, can I say, Shemin Ma'at, go forth in divine balance. We'll see you soon. Peace. And Ankin Ma'at to a few other people. Ankin Ma'at to Chiquita Smith, and also our full member, Abigail Jefferson. Sinette Abigail is there. Ankin Ma'at to you. All right, folks, we'll see you soon.